everybody. This here's a Thor Bagger, yeah? Just got it. Gonna calibrate it. Join me.
This here's what the control module for the Thor Bagger looks like the first time I turned it on, eh? It's got 3 modules. Each module controls a different component of the contraption. The first module controls the left side hopper. The second module controls the right side hopper. And the bottom module controls the water. A quick overview of how to operate these modules. Holding the settings button, we'll put it into settings mode. Now that you're in settings mode, you see the blinking P0. We don't want to screw with that. We're going to press the settings button again to get us to the other side, which is now set to 5 seconds. If I press the power button, that'll put a decimal there, make it 5/10 of a second. If I press that power button again, it goes to 5/100 of a second. Once more, we'll get it to 5 minutes. A final press will return us to where we started at 5 seconds. In order to confirm your selection, you will once again hold the settings button and you have confirmed your selection and exited settings mode.
So as you can see here on my Whirlpool product registration card, the math that I have done is to achieve a 5-pound block of a 50-50 supplemented mix at 60% hydration. As you can see, we've got 5 parts of a whole, and if we put 1 part pellet 1, 1 part pellet 2, that'd be 40% of our total. And then if we put three more equal parts of H2O in there, that'll be 60% of our total. And that gives us a 5-pound block at 60% hydration, assuming we use the correct amounts, which is 450 grams of pellet 1, 450 grams of pellet 2, and 1,350 grams of water. So now I do have some pellets up in here from when I was testing it out yesterday. But I don't really want to release those pellets right now because I'm just calibrating the waters. And that would kind of ruin the pellets since we're not actually making bags right now. So what I have done is I have set this hopper to 0, which will cause it to never open when I hit the foot pedal. An introduction to the water system of the Thor Bagger. Here we have the water system. This is a hose. I have my hose feeding water into a regulator. The regulator
Can be adjusted with a screwdriver. That flathead screwdriver turned clockwise will increase the pressure. Turned counterclockwise, it will decrease the pressure.
So here I am. I'm gonna dispense some water for the first time into this here bucket. I've got it tared here on my handy dandy postal scale. And we're gonna go ahead and see what this gives us right out of the box, out of the pallet I should say. Holy majoli! Now that's going to be quite a bit more water than we need. We're shooting for 1350. We've got 3650. And that's going to require us to do a little thing called calibration. So, shall we begin? I've dialed back my pressure gauge a little bit to about 30 psi right now. I haven't changed the timer yet. So this is what we get at 30 psi in 5 seconds. Woo. So if you notice, there's still that initial jolt of water going And it's a bit much. It splashes. You don't need that to be that hard, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep bringing the pressure down until it doesn't, until it doesn't feel like it just had Taco Bell. So here I go, making an adjustment. Dialing it counterclockwise until we get to about 20 psi is the next benchmark I'm shooting for, hey? So it won't adjust until you run it again. So it's still gonna go, but less. But now when it repressurizes, it's gonna repressurize to the new setting. And it seems we're still kind of, still about 25 psi. So I'm gonna dial it back a few more turns, a couple more 180s there. Let it go. Little tinkle tinkle. And now it should repressurize back up. Now it's sitting at about 24. So this is a different experience than the one I had yesterday when I was testing and calibrating this. Would appear we got to do some tightening. And I'm not even measuring the water yet. I'm just trying to get the flow how I want it. Alright, so I'm tired of waiting 5 seconds every time. I'm going to bring this thing down a little bit because I know once I get the sweet spot, it's only going to take about a second or two to get my 1,350 grams of water in that bag. So I just set it to be 2 seconds now. That's a better flow. I think we can go a little bit higher. Pinch higher still. Couple of 180s there. Maybe I went too far. Emptying the water, and we're going to try it again. It has enough time to get to full pressure. This is full pressure at 2 seconds. The gauge is at 36 psi. So as you can see, we went way too far in our recalibration. We're going to have to dial it back again. Micro adjustments are going to be the key here. So I'm going to start doing 180s instead of 360s here, right? There's one 180. Too much. Two 180s. A little bit better. That's not a bad spot right there. And that gets us, we're still pressurizing. That's at about 26 psi right now. I don't hate that. I'm going to start measuring the water. I've tared the bucket on there, zeroed it out, and we're going to see what we get. Still a bit splashy. But I'll be gall darned if I didn't just nail 1350 on the head there. What do you know, people? 1300, 1350, it's on the cusp. Now this postal scale is a plus or minus 50 gram scale. So I just saw it go down to 1250. Maybe that's because I'm tugging on the cord a bit. Yeah, 1350 seems good. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to lie. I expected to have to make a few more adjustments to get there, but when you've been doing this as long as I have, you can just eyeball it. But yeah, so, okay. We got 1350. Let's see if we do it again. Let's tear that out. We're going to zero that out there. See what we get. I'll be darned. 1350 on the money. We're keeping our water setting. Alright, so we calibrated our water. We got that where we wanted it. And now it's time to calibrate them pellets. But you may notice really quickly that I have something disconnected here, which is this water hose that we were just using a second ago. Now that connects to a tube in the back there and makes the water go out the front here. But, you know, when you've calibrated the water first, and then you want to go back and do your pellets, there's going to be a little bit of water that just kind of trickles out every time you open up your valves. And that's going to get onto your pellets, and that's going to start making them expand, turn back into sawdust. And while we're calibrating this here, we don't want that to happen because we just want to kind of reuse these pellets and recycle them for calibration purposes. So you're going to want to get a screwdriver, take off the hose clamp, and pull that bitch out of the back there so you don't get no water on your pellets during this calibration process. That, or you can just do your pellets first and never hook up a water line until you've got your pellets calibrated. But I went for the water first, so this is what we're doing. Okay, so now we're doing pellets, eh? So I'm going to set this here to 5 seconds where it came stock so you guys can have the authentic user experience of getting a stock Thor Bagger in the mail. Alrighty. So, as we established with my math a minute ago, we want 450 grams of pellets from each side, you know, and that's going to give us our correct amount. Now, I didn't have my scale on or tare it or nothing, but I'm going to say that's more than 450 grams of pellets, eh? Yeah. So, we're going to take our bad boy, throw her back up top, and we're going to start lowering the time on this. Now, and I'll turn on the thing there and get it there. So we're going to bring this down to 1 second, because I think we had more than 5 times what we needed in that bucket there. So we brought it down from 1 second, which is where I got it stocked, to, 5 seconds, which is where I got it stocked, to 1 second. We're going to test her out, eh? 1 second gave me about 1400 to 1450 grams of pellets. Now that right there is easily 3 times the amount we need. So, we're going to have to go in here and go less than a second. So, you're in here, and you go there, push the power button to get a decimal going. And since we have about 3 times as much as we need, we're going to go about 1/3 of a second. So, we've got 3/10 of a second punched into that. We're going to tare this. 0 grams on our scale. And it pooped out 400 for us. That's pretty close. Pretty stinking close. Let's see if it does it again. 750. Okay, so we're on the shy side of 400. So, punch it up a little bit more. Tear that out. And we're going to center this so I'm not loosening any pellets. And we're going to punch that up to 4/10 of a second, eh? Alright, 4/10 of a second. Do your magic. I got about 550 grams there. Let's do it again. 1100. So about pretty solid 550 there. So first time we got it like just under 4. This time we got about 550. So that 1/10 of a second makes a big difference. So we're gonna have to go to the hundredths. So 3 was too little, 4 was too much in tenths. So we're gonna go to 35 hundredths of a second here by pressing the power button once more to move the decimal over. And then we're gonna push the up arrow till we get to 35. Bingo, bango. My hopper's now set to open for 35 hundredths of a second. We're gonna tear our scale and see what we get. That's the number I wanted. That's the number. Does it do it again? It does. It does. Well, since we seem to be on the cusp just a little bit, I'm gonna do some more trial runs, eh? Because consistency is consistent. $450 grams. 900 grams. Ooh, 1,400 grams. Up, jiggle back down to 1,350. So we're on the high side of 450 grams per, but I'm satisfied. Now we have it. We're going to copy the settings to the other side and see if it does give us the same amount for our different type of pellets, because due to density and how it affects the volume of objects, we may have to calibrate it a little bit. Let me load a bag of soil in that dude. Now we're cooking. So, we know we want this hopper to be at 35 hundredths of a second. We're going to start at that point on this hopper and see where it goes. But we're going to shut off this hopper so it doesn't give us both pellets at once, because that's not how you calibrate. So going into here, we're going to hold the down arrow to bring that all the way to 0. That is set for 0 hundredths of a second. That will open for 0 units of time. Now we're going to set this one to 35 hundredths of a second. Confirm it. And we're going to see what kind of results we get, eh? We've teared. Oh, okay. So that comes from the other direction, so we got to adjust it. We lost a couple pellets there. But that gave us 400. Let's try that again, huh? $500, $950, $1,450. We seem to be just hovering around 500 grams. So we're going to just dial it back just a pinch. Just test it one more time. Yeah, it's giving me about 500 grams. So I'm going to take 2 hundredths off the second. This stuff is dusty, boys. I'm going to take 2 hundredths of a second off of that. And 450. 900. 1350. Cool. So Now we're going to test both hoppers at once to make sure it's giving us our 900 or so. We're going to set hopper 1 back to 35 hundredths of a second. And, you know, see what happens. Center this a little bit. Now keep in mind, we can't just recycle them once they've been mixed. They're going to go in a bin of mixed pellets. So, I seem to have only gotten 600 grams of pellets. Maybe it's because the one side was sitting for a minute. We'll just tear that off. Here we go. 800 grams. Seem to have gotten 1,000 grams on that one. Let's try it again. Tear it. There we go. That's 900 grams. That's what we want. No, 950. Okay, it's on the threshold. Give it again. 1850. 900. Okay, so not bad. Maybe I dial them both back by 1/100th of a second. We're teared. We're at 34 hundredths of a second from hopper 1, which is our wood pellet. 32 hundredths of a second from hopper 2, which is our non-GMO soy pellet. And we got 900. We got 1800. We got 2700. This motherfucker be calibrated. Now I can take all this master's mix and, well, do something with it. I do believe at this point, at this juncture, it is appropriate to try a bag. Ooh, doggy. So we're gonna hook back up our water hose. For all you hosers out there. All right, our hose clamp is secured. I'm gonna grab one of these here mushroom grow bags in the 14A size, 14A. I'm gonna set this timer to be 2 seconds, and I had it set higher so that I could get all the water out of the line. So, to recap so far, we did an overview of the modules. We set our water calibration first. We're using, oh, let me turn the water on. So you can see our hose sprung to life there. We've got water going. Our pressure regulator's holding at about 28 psi. So we've calibrated our pressure regulator to get the right pressure. We've calibrated our water timer to get the correct amount of water at that pressure. We've calibrated hopper 1 to give us the correct amount of wood pellets. We've calibrated hopper 2 to give us the correct amount of soybean hull pellets. And here's the moment of truth, folks. I'm going to put our scale back in place, turn it on and tear it. We're going to put a bag under here, and we're going to see what happens, eh? Ooh, Nelly. Now that was an explosion of flavor. Let's weigh this. And we have a grand total 2,350 grams. Now, we wanted 450 times 5. That's pretty close. It's pretty close. Pretty close. It's a little heavy. But you know, I could take this bag and I could grow mushrooms with it. Now we do have a lot of splashy washy up the sides there and all that nonsense, and I think I need to recalibrate my water to be less pressured, because that just almost took the bag right out of my hands when I did that there. So you know, we're close. Close. Well, okie dokie, folkies. I've been doing some more calibrating here, and I've learned a few more things. So, if you're calibrating your water, and you haven't pushed the foot pedal in a while, it will be at maximum pressure that it possibly can be per whatever you've set it at there. Now, that's great and all, but unless you want to wait the extra 5, 10, 15 seconds it takes for it to get to absolute 100% pressure, you want to be calibrating this as at the speed that you're going to be bagging. So, when I have not released any water for about a minute, I will get a reading at my current setting of 26 psi at something like 1750, which is nuts. But if I don't let it go all the way back up, and I just pop it right back to back, what the fuck, man? This shit is responding to my calibrations like 2 minutes, 3 minutes later. This ain't it, boss. This ain't it. Okay, so I'm learning that it's consistent if and only if you're hitting it at the same interval on the pedal, which allows the exact amount of pressure to build up that you had on the last run. If you let it sit for longer, like I'm doing right now while I'm talking to you guys, it's going to build up pressure, and it is going to give me a different reading next time. The last 3 times I did it, it was 1200 even. We've got 1350 now, and that's because we let it sit. But since we did not let it sit very long that time, 1200. 1250. $1,200. So basically, if I'm not mistaken, what this means is your first bag you do is always going to be a burn. It's going to be off on the ratios, and you're going to need to toss that bag and just waste it. Okay, now we're back here for like round 3 of calibrations. As you can see, I have a waste pail ready because I have wasted a lot of material so far trying to get this right. Here we go. I have hopper set to 34 hundredths of a second. Hopper 2 set to 32 hundredths of a second. Hopefully those will give me a combined 900 grams in even quantities of the pellets. And hopefully my calibrations for the water will give me a nice even 1350. However, your first one is pretty much a burn every time because the water and the pellets do not distribute, or rather, they do not release at the same rate that they will once you have this going every 5 seconds. So, since I have had this sitting for a few minutes here setting it up, we are going to get a waist on the first one, but we're going to figure out, we're gonna see what it weighs anyway. But we're gonna do about 4 or 5 ejections here and see what we get. Not bad. 2450. So 5.5 pounds. A little bit more than we wanted, but that's expected now. 5 pounds even. Pretty close to another 5 pounds. We're going to tear it. We're going to go back to grams here. 2150, 5 pounds. 4.9 pounds, tear it. 4.7. And 4.7 plus 4.6 something. 4.7 plus 4.7 gives 9.4, so it's consistent at least once you get it up to speed and you're using the foot pedal every few seconds. So we've just done 5 bags at our current calibrations. This is the first bag, which we expect to be off due to the water and pellets sitting. This bag is giving us This bag gives us 5.4 pounds. Bag 2 gives us 5 even. Bag 3 gives us 4.9. Bag 4 gives us 4.9. And bag 5 gives us 4.9. So, might not have to burn the first bag entirely. Seems to be within acceptable tolerances. I am pretty much over this whole video, and I'm just gonna